I kept getting smashed by guys, and this is what it taught me about life and business. So, if you're familiar with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, as you can see here, here's Gordon Ryan currently rolling with somebody. But I want to talk about my first day at BJJ. So, I was essentially coming from zero wrestling background, zero Jiu Jitsu background, zero grappling background, and I was thrown into a shark tank. So, if you train Jiu Jitsu, you know exactly what a shark tank is, where essentially I started off with my back taken. There is multiple people in line. Once you get submitted, you'll go ahead and go to the back of the line, and I had to get out. So as you know, in jiu-jitsu, this is the worst position you could possibly be in, and it was my first day ever. So chances are is you know that I was getting submitted over and over again, trying to squirm out, somehow get rear naked choked, or ended up in an armbar, or any different combinations. Basically, I was being tossed around like a rag doll. And guess what happened for the next 2 months whenever I first started jiu-jitsu as well. So every single day I got submitted day in, day out. Whenever we rolled, whenever we did drills, I got submitted every single day, multiple times. And I went back home, defeated every single day. But what I did to try to improve is every single day I would go back home, watch BJJ tutorials, how to escape armbar, how to escape rear naked choke, how to do triangle choke. And essentially in the beginning, all it was about survival. I needed to survive longer and not get submitted. And then whenever I got rear naked choked, what I did is I searched up how to get out of a rear naked choke. And whenever I got triangle choked, I searched up how can I get out of a triangle. And whenever I got armbarred, I searched up how can I get out of an armbar. So every single day, no matter if I was getting smashed, no matter if I was tired, I was going home, searching up how to actually get out of every single submission that's potentially possible. And any new submissions that was pulled on me, I would go home on my drive. I used to live in San Diego, so I used to drive to 10th Planet in San Diego. I was living in La Jolla, and the traffic there was insane at times. So it would take 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get back home. Every single time when I was driving back home, I would be rethinking of the patterns I did that got me into the current position. Or I'll think about how I could get out of my current position whenever I was currently in the position that got me submitted. So I went through a lot of struggle. As you can see here in this picture, there's a bunch of red dots on my face because I was stuck in a triangle for probably 4 minutes straight, or it felt like 4 minutes. It just wasn't tight enough to submit me, but all the blood vessels in my face just popped because I was just under strain for like 4 minutes. And then here I was in half guard with this big bodybuilder, and he essentially just bruised my entire leg just from him squeezing on my leg whenever I was in half guard. So, but slowly and slowly, I was able to survive longer. So every single day when I go back home, I was searching up how to survive, how to perform different submissions, and over time, over weeks, over months, I was able to survive longer and even get the advantage of being on top. And then I finally got my first submission via arm triangle. So with all of this is I was struggling for such a long time, but what has this taught me about life, but also in the business world as well? Because I think a lot of things in the jiu-jitsu space, it mostly just trains you to be a person, to be a better person, to make decisions under pressure. And I'll get into what this has taught me in life, but also in business. So here's what I learned from just getting submitted day in, day out, starting jiu-jitsu and keeping at it for months on end. So in the beginning, you're going to suck and you're going to get wrecked by every single person that you know. You're going to get submitted, you're going to get tossed around, you're going to get caught in random submissions, and you're not going to know how to even get out that current position. There's a knowledge gap, but on top of that, you also don't have enough mat time. So one thing about jiu-jitsu is you need to have mat time just so you're constantly improving, and also you're constantly going through repetitions of being caught in submission, trying to perform a submission, and making mistakes. And thing is, nowadays in jiu-jitsu, but also in life and business, is people quit so easily. It's so easy to win nowadays because most people quit once they hit the first roadblock. Imagine me after the first month of jiu-jitsu and getting submitted day in, day out. If I didn't have that grit, if I didn't have that determination, I would have already quit. And this happens in business so many times. People go for a shiny object syndrome. They go to Amazon FBA, SMMA, drop shipping, and then once they achieve the first roadblock, they're going to quit. And if you're a person that quits after a month, you're not going to make it in jiu-jitsu, but also in business and life as well. You need all the people that you've seen online that made it, or all the jiu-jitsu guys you see online that are professionals, have gone through the same struggles you have, because they all start from zero. And you only see their successes, but you never see them being caught in the triangle choke day in and day out. So what you really need to do is you need to show up every single day, even if you know you're going to get wrecked. Whenever I started my business, I remember I had no sales background, no marketing background, but I learned a way to generate leads online. And whenever I hopped on a sales call for the first 2 months, I was getting wrecked on a day-to-day basis. Like every single day, couldn't close a single deal, even if it was like a lay down close. And what happened is after every single night, I'll go to my bed and I'll keep watching sales training on YouTube. And that's how I really learned how to sell and how to actually do sales and what's the psychology behind sales. It's very similar to how whenever I kept getting submitted by the same submissions or getting stuck in a certain bad position, I would go home, review what happened in my long car drive back to La Jolla from San Diego. And also when I go home during meals, during downtime, I would just watch Gordon Ryan tutorials on YouTube and just trying to learn as much as possible. So you constantly need to improve and show up every single day, even if you know that you're going to get wrecked day in, day out. Because one day there's going to be a switch that turns and you're going to get that submission, you're going to get that first client. Next thing is there are moments where you can just take a chill pill, and then there are moments where you need to kip, you need to squirm, you need a full out sprint. And whenever you're caught in a submission in jiu-jitsu, usually when the submission is closing in, that's not actually the best position to start squirming. But there's a split second whenever the submission's almost locked in where you can get out, right? The person that's currently submitting you is making a small mistake, giving you a little bit of air to breathe. They're not tight enough in terms of how they perform the maneuver to submit you. And there's a split second where you could get out. So in business, there's going to be one decision or one offer where you go out in a full-blown sprint. There might be weeks, there might be months where you don't have that opportunity, but let's say you have that one client where you just need to go out in a full-blown sprint to achieve results for a client and bring on more and more clients. And that's what really takes you from losing the fight, being caught in full mount, having an arm triangle performed on you, versus you reversing that and then taking their back, right? So that's what takes you from losing to potentially winning the fight. And then on top of what I said before, everybody starts from the same spot. People ahead of you, are they necessarily more talented, or do they just keep going after it day in, day out until they finally cracked it? Nowadays, you have the whole internet to your advantage. You're watching this video via the internet, and even if you're doing jiu-jitsu, you have Gordon Ryan, you have all these tutorials on YouTube, and information is in your hands. And what you need to do is just really consume that information, but you need to be taking action. If I just watch jiu-jitsu videos day in, day out, and never did any mat time, I would never perform. Same thing in business. If you keep watching a theory of this business model versus another business model, but you're never in the trenches, you're never in mount, getting submitted, you won't ever learn. No matter how much I tell you, this has happened to me on multiple occasions. But every single person online that you see that are successful has been in the same shoes that you have in this current moment. It's just then they kept going after it day in, day out until they finally cracked it, and that's what separates you from them. And if you keep doing it every single day, enough inputs every single day, you're going to make it just like them. And another thing that most people don't talk about is when you get wrecked, you learn fast. And you solve bottlenecks by preventing them, but also by going through them. No matter how many times I watch a video on jiu-jitsu on how to get out of a rear naked choke, I never really realized how to actually do it until I was actually stuck there and got submitted. So in business, you're going to have a lot of bottlenecks like show up rates, you're going to have closing rate issues, you're going to have team management issues, how to do operations for a company. But for the most part, if you try to prevent it, you can, but you won't really learn until you actually been through the trenches. And this happens to every single person. And just having that experience of being in the trenches and going through those bottlenecks and being submitted will actually give you enough motivation to battle that and solve them as they come. So that's pretty much it for this video. I'll highly recommend jiu-jitsu if you've never tried jiu-jitsu, but this has taught me so much about life, so much about business, And the first part, to recap, is basically just take action. You're going to be in the trenches. You're going to suck when you first begin. But if you show up day in, day out, enough inputs every single day, you're going to land that first client. You're going to land that first 100 clients. You're going to get that submission. You're going to get that blue belt finally. And that's all I have for this video. And I'll catch you in the next video.